Don't mute yourself. Mute
It's
yourself.
muted.
Cut your phone volume all the way down. You see us now?
Yeah. I don't know why it's still. Do I need to?
On March the 5th, let's invest in the future of Arkansas together. Paid for by Williams for Arkansas. Today's beginning of early voting, and it continues until Election Day, March 5th of 2024. You should take yourself to vote. You take your friends and family to vote. You can take a couple of other people that may not like you anymore to go vote. Make your vote be an historic one this time around. This is an historic election. Please go vote. Thank you.
I told you I was gonna do it. I told you I was gonna do it. Ain't no way for me to love.
I don't know why I keep getting reverb on here.
I hear it a little bit too.
Let me.
It ain't no way for me to keep you on me. If you won't let me give all of me. I don't know what I'm doing. It's a hell and lovely. And that's the way it was for me. Here's something else. Let me see. Oh, how can I give you all the things I can?
I think that might be it.
If you turn me over my head, oh, ain't no way, ain't no way, ain't no way.
I don't think I'm here. Yes.
Ain't no way. Just ain't no way. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. It's my favorite part right here. It's my favorite. Stop trying to be someone you're not.
Now I hear it. When you turn that up, I heard it.
I don't know what was doing it.
my purse, maybe.
Yes, you are live right here, KBF 88.3 with Aretha Franklin bringing you in. But ain't no way, 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 ain't no way. I am super excited about this entire month that we will be listening to different voices in honor of, in celebration of, in recognition of Women's History Month. I'm going to use it in recognition of. So we've got 4 weeks of dynamic women coming to talk about issues related to women and the broader human shit. I don't like to say human beings, broader humanity. Yeah. And so we can't wait for it. Today we've got our special guest, and I'll let her introduce herself in just a moment. But first things first, always want to keep the main thing, and that is you. To remind you of how grateful we are that you have stopped right here at 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. You have so many streaming options, and you stopped right here for Community Voices. How grateful are we? We are extremely grateful. We would not be here were it not for your support. So thank you so much for all of the ways that you show up for KABF, and for all of the ways you have shown up, for all of the ways you show up right now, and for all of the ways that you will continue to show up. We are so glad that you are here in our presence on this day. I do have a couple of announcements that I want to make, and I do want to give you the tidbit for today from the Equal Justice Initiative, even though I'm still trying to figure out which one is going to be the best one for today. But yeah, we got our initiative coming up. We got our tidbit coming up. But first, on his way out the door, El said, I'm going to invite you to a little something.
He did.
He said, oh, and bring Michelle too. I'm like, okay. Sunday reggae vibes. I wish we had been in here when he was playing a different song, because he dances that whole, you know how to have reggae, the dance. Mm-hmm. He dances like that up in the studio. I'd be like, go, El. So Sunday Reggae Vibes featuring Anthony B and the Born on Fire Band is happening on Sunday, April 28th, 2024 at the Maumelle Event Center. And that's 10910 on Maumelle Boulevard in North Little Rock, 72113. The doors open at 6:30 p.m. Also featuring DJ Mucho and Capital Stone. If you need more information, you can call 501-333-8182. For more information about the Sunday Reggae Vibes on Sunday, April 28th, you can call 501-333-8182. We do not expect you to remember that number. You can hit us up right here in the studio. We'll let you know the information. 501-372-6119 is the number to the office. 501-433-0088. That's the phone line in the studio. And it is going to be open today. It's open already because you want to hear this. You might want to have something to say right here as we have this conversation. And then the other announcement I want to make is that it is Super Tuesday. This is the last day for you all to vote. We've been talking about voting since the 20th of February. We've been talking about voting all year long, but the 20th was early voting, and then today is the absolute last opportunity that you have to go vote. If you are voting today, that means that you have to go to the precinct that you have been assigned. You cannot just go to any space like you were able to do with early voting. You must go to the precinct that you were assigned on that little card that you get from Terry Hollingsworth as our circuit court clerk. And so make sure that you go to the place. Make sure you have your driver's license. And it's not even enough to have your driver's license. Even when you get there, you got to say your name. You got to say your date of birth. Don't
give your address.
You got to give your address. Even though you give them your identification, you still have to identify yourself verbally as well. So get ready. If you have not already gone, please go and cast your vote. Don't forget about the information that we were given from the Humphrey and Humphreys to make sure that we knew exactly who to vote along those judicial lines, especially for the Arkansas Court of Appeals, where we are encouraging you to vote for Carlton Jones, that black man. Gonna make some history up in here. So we want to make sure that you have all of the information that you need. Today is the absolute last day for you to go and vote. Please exercise that right, especially in light of these tidbits. It's so many of them that I wanted to talk about today, and I just cannot even. I probably will do 2 of them, but this one is today. So on Tuesday, what month is this? March 5th in 1959. 21 black boys burned to death, locked inside a segregated and neglected Arkansas quote-unquote reform school. On this day, March 5th in 1959, 21 black boys burned to death, locked inside a segregated and neglected Arkansas Reform School. And since we're talking about voting, it is important for us to realize that all politics is local. And so the first thing you need to do is pay attention to who you are voting for in your city, in your municipality, in your state. That is what is most important, because the things that these people do, the policies that they enact, the laws that they pass, this affects your everyday life. So when you think about this school that was neglected and segregated, that is what's happening in Arkansas right now. Our schools continue to be segregated, and because they continue to be segregated, there are schools that are neglected. Let's think about the Southwest High School right now. You've got the children raising up saying, look, we don't even have effective leadership in here. You want us to be our most excellent selves, but you won't even give us an excellent leader. How does that work? And so we cannot pretend like we are beyond these issues. We cannot pretend that we are living in a post-racial society. We cannot pretend that the people that are in office right now care about your black body, your brown body, your poor body in particular, let alone the rest of us, right? And so we've got to make sure that we are exercising our voices with our votes so that we can let people know that we're not going to stand for this anymore. It is time, past time, for us to make a change, for us to dismantle these systems of domination and oppression and exclusion and war that continue to prevail all across this world, and particularly in our country. And so I wanted to give you that tidbit. Michelle, I'm gonna sign you up for the tidbit. You know,
okay.
I do, look, I don't even be asking permission. I'm like, once you give me your email address, if you mess around and give me your email address, I got it. That's why I said as soon as I have to think about it though. Yeah, everybody who gives me their email address, I sign it. I do want to say to you though, that for those of you who are listening to these tidbits, I do know that it's hard sometimes to hear them. I do know that. For those of you who have the calendar, it is also difficult because you have all, like, however many days of the year, days in that month, you've got them right there in front of you. And so if you take the time to read like more than one, if you just read a week, you have to stop. You have to just stop and take care of yourself. Think about your mental health. Calm down, relax, go breathe, whatever you need to do, because it is a lot. But it's important for us to know, it is important for us to remember, and it is important for us to share. And so let me get started. If you could just take a moment, please, and just introduce yourself to our listenership, because I don't want to say who you are.
I was hoping you were going to do the intro.
I will do it.
You want to do it?
I will do it.
Okay.
I want to make sure that I'm giving people the opportunity, because sometimes I might go in a direction like, oh, I didn't mean for you to say that, and this way it's like,
no, just say what you know.
Say what you know. Oh, say what I know. Michelle, I could not remember how we met.
Lucy's Place Board.
Yeah. That's how we met. Okay. I could not remember that. But what I do remember, what I know about you, Michelle Barnes, MB Barnes, what I know is that you are a living witness of what it means to say, I'm going to be who I believe I was called to be, who I believe that I was put on this earth to become. I'm going to live into that to the best of my ability every single day in every single lane I find myself in, even if I have to forge my own path, even if I have to create my own lane. If this is what I believe I'm supposed to do, I'm going to hear that in my spirit, and I'm going to follow through no matter what, because I know I'm unstoppable. Now, that's how I experience you. I don't know how you experience yourself, but that's how I experience you. And so the last time we were talking, which was like a couple of weeks ago, I remember saying, I was looking for people who had taken their small businesses. I wanted to talk about the small business. Yeah. And I was looking for people who had podcasts. And I was like, I want to hear the story. I just want to hear the story. Yeah. And so I sat down with you at your favorite place. Yeah. Is that your favorite place?
It's one of my favorite places. I just started working in Soma, and so it's hard, to not say that these local businesses are not your favorite place when you know the owners, what they've gone through. We want to support the economy, locally. And so, let's
eat local.
Yeah. I'll just say the bagel shop is where we met. And so bagel shop, check it out on Main Street.
Yeah, we go from the bagel shop to bread, cheese, and wine to the Root.
The Root, that corner.
Who live in this area.
Yeah.
we're all like, we find ourselves running into each other in all of those places. El Sur, then we'll go to what's the new place now? It's the Buster now, but it used to be South on Main. That's where you used to. That's where we used to go. So yeah, we find ourselves in all those places. But we were there, and I actually got confused because I think you said you're here to talk about the podcast. I was like, oh, I thought I was here to talk about the small business.
Yeah.
So like, no, because it didn't matter, right? Because you have information in both of those realms. You have a podcast called The Respectable Woman. You also have a small business called Real Images. You also are employed full time. You also have family. You also, I mean, you got a lot going on as Black woman. Yeah. Not because it's too much, but it's because you're Black woman.
I'm a Black
what
woman.
did Elle ask you? Like, what did Elle ask us when we first came in?
He said, what was my expertise? Yes. And I said, ugh. And I said, you know, I'm a country girl. So a country girl, you can't ask a country woman about what her expertise is because it's everything. You just learn how to do a little bit of everything.
That's what we talked about. And Elle dropped a little knowledge on us. What did he say? He said where he's from or who his grandmama, somebody said something about a woman. She'll give you 99 and still beat you to 100.
She'll give you 99
and still beat you to 100.
And you still can't figure out how to get the one.
That's what he said. We were sitting down talking at the bagel shop, and I was trying to get you. I've been trying to get you in the studio. Yeah. And so we were looking at our calendars, trying to figure out what would be the best time. And you were like, March is Women's History Month. Remember? And I don't remember what happened, but the song "Ain't No Way" came up, and I shot it back to you. And I said, Michelle, what if we start every single week with "Ain't No Way"? And the reason I wanted to do that is because when we think about the song Aretha is singing, "Ain't No Way," she's saying that there's one of the lines that I love is that she says, "It's really no way for me to be all of who I can be for you if you won't let me be all of who I am."
That's it.
You want to pick and choose the parts of me that you like, the parts of me that are acceptable to you, the parts of me that stroke your ego, the parts of me that help you benefit in some way. But I'm more than all of that. Right. If you want me to be my most excellent self, then you got to take all of me. Right? You got to take all of me. And all of us have got to stop trying to be someone we're not just to fit into somebody else's life. If you want me, and if you want all of me, you got to let me be. Yeah. You got to take me as I am. And so we were talking about, this is Women's History Month. And so we were talking about what that means as a woman for you to say, look, I need the space to be all of who I am. And so there's one thing that keeps coming up for me that people say all the time, that nobody else can love you until you first love yourself. That's true. I hear people say that all the time. And it's interesting that you said that's true because I'm of the mindset that it's not true. Why do you think it's true?
I think that, it kind of goes back to what you just said about the lyrics of the song. If you do not love yourself, you really don't know what your capacity is. You really, that all of me statement, you can't really define that all of me statement if you don't love yourself. Because that all of me is going to be good and bad. You know what I'm saying? All of me is, there's a problem. I was just having this conversation with my sister last night. We are doers. If there's a problem, we're going to go in and fix it. Now, the problem is, everybody didn't ask us to fix it all the time. And so, that's one thing about us. But again, like with that doer nature, that comes with some fire nature, and that fire can go both ways. And so for me to be like, okay, I know I have these good qualities, but then again, I know I can get a little extra and do too much and say some things I probably shouldn't say. That's all of me. And it's really hard to love all of that, because I struggle back and forth between that. The showing up and being authentic and saying what needs to be said, it works until it doesn't. It works until you love somebody and you are speaking in love and truth to them and they don't feel that. Now you feel bad because you love that person, but you can only be who you can be.
Well, I think that the reason that I pushed back on it, before I go there, let me ask you, let me keep going with you. Yeah. So then how did you learn to love? Okay, first you said in order for you to love yourself, you got to know who all of you is. Like, what does that mean to say this is all of me? Right. So how did you learn that this is, whatever that this is for Michelle? Like how did you learn that this is all of me?
I'm still learning.
Okay. Okay.
I'm still learning. I just celebrated a 40th birthday last year. Yeah, it feels good, but you know, I've been hearing leading up all my life, leading up to 40. You don't really begin to know yourself until 40. You know, you hear people say things, but you have to keep living because you hear it, but you don't know exactly what that means, right? And so last year was a lot of transition, and so I feel like that I'm still learning that it is okay for me to be who I am. It's very difficult for me to introduce myself because I'm like, what do I say? You know, like I can say some things, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm still a little uncomfortable with that. So I'm still learning it. So for you to say what you said, I've heard it before, but it still hits me in the heart when somebody says that's how they receive me. It is my hope. It is my work in life to speak truth and to help people speak their truths and just to create a space where people can say what they want to say. But unless somebody says something, I don't know if that works. Like, I know what I'm out here trying to work to do, but sometimes you got to be reminded that what you're doing is working. So I'm still learning how to get the light side and the shadow side, so to speak, of myself, and learn to really, really 100% love all of that.
So then how do you learn how to love? Like, how are you learning to love?
Self-forgiveness. That's what I'm going through right now. Like, just that, you know, it's okay, Michelle.
What is okay?
It is okay to step on some toes if need be. It is okay to be passionate. It is okay to be forceful. Those are some words that have been used in a way to criticize me. And those have been some words that have been used to celebrate me. But when somebody uses those words to criticize you, it does sting a little bit. So it's okay for me to be forceful. It's okay for me to be passionate. It may not be your cup of tea. It may not be how, you know, you want to deal with me. Well, maybe we start to deal with each other in a different way, in a different process, in a different path. Because I have to say it's okay for me to be who I am.
I think that one of the things that I know about you too is that when you finally decide that enough is enough, then you out.
I'm gone.
Peace out.
Baby, I'm a Leo, honey. We are a prideful bunch. You got CC Mercer coming up, baby. We are a prideful bunch. Okay? And once we done, baby, peace out. We gone. We gone.
I've been on a couple of journeys with you where you were like figuring it out. Like, is this what I think it is? Is this what works for me? Is this what's good for me? Only to say, no, it's not. And so let me take this next step.
Right.
And I'm willing to take this next step because that is what's best for me.
Yep.
Regardless of what it means for him or her or whoever else we're talking about. I'm going to do what's best for me. And so I feel like if you are going to talk about loving your whole self, then you have to be willing to take that hard step. Yeah. It might be hard for somebody else. It might even be hard for you. But when you know that it is what is best for you, then you are willing to stand firm on it. This is my choice. This is my decision. And even if I'm wrong, it's okay.
Right.
I'll learn about it later on.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I push back on this notion of in order for other people to love you, you got to first love yourself is because when I think about the fabric of this world, when I think about being Black in America, when I think about my ancestors and how we were kidnapped and captured and brought over here and stripped of everything that we could possibly know about ourselves and then given somebody else's idea of who we're supposed to be. And then under this kind of chattel slavery, right? We're property, somebody else's property. Then this is who is modeling for us what life is supposed to be. Right. So this is all we have come to know here. This is not what we brought with us. I'm not saying that at all. But this is what we have come to know here on this land. And so if these are the models that we have that are in place, these models of systems of domination and oppression and exclusion and war, then how do we even know what love looks like? Who has been our model for that? And I know people say, well, my mama. And I say, okay, I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to argue with you on your mama at all. But my question would also be, who showed your mama? And you say, well, her mama. Well, who showed her mama? And so if we trace it all the way back, I feel like we've got faulty models of what it means to love. Yeah. And then when I think about being Black in America in particular, and the way that I grew up, lots of times in the Black home, we say that I love you, and that's why I'm whooping you. Right? And for me, it really wasn't no whooping. It was a beat, but it was because you love me. See, this kind of love for me gets skewed. This kind of love for me leaves me confused and astounded and flabbergasted. Like, you got to beat me down to show me that you love me. And so that's when I began to say, wait a minute. It's not that I don't think that I need to love myself. What I need to do is look for, pursue better models of what it means to be loved. Because just depending on what people show up, because just because I'm in this family, to me, that doesn't mean that I know how to love just because I grew up in a family. Yeah. Right? Just because I have a family, just because I went to school, just because I went to church, those places that people consider to be family places. I don't feel like we always see the best model of love in those places. And because of that, I feel like we are shaped by them. So do we really know what love is?
I think that all of that is a good point. I think what I would say to that for people to practice is like going inside of yourself. We always talk about women's intuition and our knowing. And I think that knowing even goes back to how do we show up for ourselves and how do we show up for others. If we get somewhere and quiet the noise and not think about how we were raised, so to speak, but think about what's in us. You talk about just the conditioning of generations, but there's also something that I believe where they say, what is in you is in your bones, and we have to believe that outside of saying, people will say it's voodoo or hoodoo or whatever, that's another condition, but there is an innate feeling, and how do I know to do this? Why do I want to pursue that? Nobody ever told me that it's in your bones. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's something I feel like in her bones to where she knew how to go in and not only birth the babies, but raise the babies in the community. That ain't something somebody teaches you. That's something that is in you and that you know. And a lot of times we fight what's
that we don't care any more about compliments than we do about negative statements. Because if you care so much about the compliments, then you're beginning to live for them. When you hear something negative, it tears you down. Yeah. But when you don't care one way or the other, if you give me a compliment, okay. If you don't give me a compliment, okay. Then I think that you can do a better job of living into what's happening in your bones, because you won't let anybody tell you that what you're feeling is not true.
Exactly.
Because a lot of times that's what happens. You feel it, and you know it, and you sense it, and then you scared to act on it because what they gonna say? Yeah. What the church gonna say? What mama gonna say? What my friends gonna say? What the workplace gonna say? And so we begin to suppress what's happening on the inside of us, and then that causes us to have some turmoil, because it's like, but I thought that was who I was, but maybe it's not. Is it really? Like, and so now we are not at peace within ourselves.
And it's gonna come up. What you bury deep down is gonna come up one day,
one way or another. And if we would tend it, then how it manifests would be a much more healthy manifestation than what's generally happens when somebody pops off. Like me, I have had to learn that if it's something that I want to say, I must say it. I can't wait. I can't try to sugarcoat it, because if I do, at some point it's going to come out. And when it comes out, because it has been a kind of percolating, it explodes. And so now popping out, and people are like, what's wrong with her?
That's me.
And he's like, ain't nothing wrong with me. I've been dealing with this the whole time. I was trying to tell you, but I wanted to be nice and I wanted to be calm and I wanted to be this and that. But I need to just say it, right? I need to just say it. Now, I do agree that there's a way that you can say things. Right. I'm not going to take that out of the equation. I do believe that that is important. And so I feel like for me and knowing you, I feel like this kind of conversation perhaps is what led you to Real Images. Yes. Because you're saying, my understanding of Real Images is that this is a space that you are creating so that we can see what authentic expressions of being women look like, being a woman. And it's not just a Black space. Let's make sure we say that. It's not just because as a matter of fact, I think I'd be more white people when I come to your events.
There'd be a lot. There'd be a lot. There'd be a lot of support. There'd be a lot of support. Yeah. And I, if I can be truthful, that's something that, I struggle with too. Cause I'm like, dang, where my sisters at? Cause I'm pushing it out. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm pushing the information out. Everybody's open to come, and so we'll get there. If I must step on a toe.
God, tell I don't care.
Because this has been in me for the past year or so now. With women, and sometimes exclusively Black women, and somebody may cancel me for it. There is a spirit of competition, and I'm very intentional in saying a spirit of competition. I'm not saying people are necessarily competitive, but there is a spirit of competition that is spreading amongst women and Black women that we have to attend to and address and figure out how we're going to move forward. To me, there's no competition. I want to support everybody. And a lot of times what you'll see me share on social media, I'm sharing my stuff, but I'm sharing other folks' stuff too. I love to see everybody do what they do. Now, I probably can't attend everything, but I'm going to share it. And what I can show up to, I'm definitely going to show up to. But that's not the case with everybody I see. There is and not even talking about me. She's doing this, and how do I get to that level? Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's not about getting to levels, boo, because we have to really attend to this competition spirit, because that blocks collaboration.
Yeah. I think that for me, this spirit of competition is something that, again, we've been shaped and molded and programmed and conditioned to believe, because the way that the world operates is on this, in this spirit of lack. Like they always want us to believe that there's only room for one of us.
There's only room for one.
There's only room for one of you at the top of the ladder in terms of being the CEO or whatever. There's only room for one of you on the board, one of you in the class, one of you with the scholarship. And so because we've been conditioned to believe that, when we walk into a space and see another one of us, it's like, how
did she get there?
Because this is my competition, right? This is my competition, because if they're only going to allow for one of us, I want to be that one. Yeah. And so now you become my enemy. I don't even have to know your name. Yep. It's just the fact that you show up as Black woman in the space, and now it's on. Yep. Between me and you, it's on and popping. But that's a conditioning, I believe. And it's a spirit that we carry, absolutely. I don't know if you know Tamika Silverman Edwards.
I love Tamika.
We were on, I can't even remember what it was, but we were on a Zoom one time, and we were trying to do a collaboration, a partnership. And they asked us, what do we need in this space? Like, what do you need in this space? And Tamika said, she said, I just need for us not to compete. Can we just not compete? And my soul was like, yes, can we just not compete?
Because she is a collaborator.
Can we just not compete? Yeah. This space would be all that and more if we could just not compete. And so that is something that we have to figure out how to, because it's when you talk about what's down in us, we've been conditioned to believe that. We've also been conditioned not to trust each other. Right? Yeah. And so here you are in the room. It's only a couple of us. I'm giving you the side eye already because you're my enemy, because I'm trying to get to whatever I think the top is. And then I'm like, well, I don't know. You probably gonna be the one that stabbed me in the back.
Right.
And I'm not even thinking about
But
I'm trying to figure out how to be with you, in relationship with you, and you're worried about something else.
I think, with the theme being, or the celebration of Women's History Month, I think it is important to, Denise, you got to get me just all in trouble. I knew you was going to do this today, though. Like, you be asking these Oprah questions, and I be like, Lord, I did not have a list. I did not know what Denise was going to bring to me today, y'all. But I think in the celebration of Women's History Month, we have to understand that when it comes to going towards a goal, and let's say the goal is business, right? What is the business goal, and how to, in Tamika's way, not compete? How do we get to the goal? You see men go out here and they make business deals and they can't stand each other. They may want a fist fight, but there is some collaboration. This person got something I need, that I got something they need, so we can push forth this and get this money or get this goal or whatever the case may be. The personal stuff can get pushed out the way when it comes to the business table. We don't do that enough. We just don't do that enough. We don't push aside whatever issues we think, because sometimes it's an issue we think we have. There's no real beef a lot of times. But we bring that to the table. It's like, but we're not pushing the goal.
Well, I think you're right. I know you're right about that. And I say that we are unable to push aside the petty. I'm gonna call it the petty.
Yeah.
We're unable to push aside the petty, but I think that's because we have not dealt with our trauma, right? And I think for women, period, we have been traumatized just for being women. I watch these movies. I like to watch crime shows and cooking shows. And on the crime shows, a lot of times, especially when it comes to, say, domestic violence, a woman will be saying to a judge, this man or woman has done this, and this to me. I am afraid for my life. And that judge will say, but well, we don't want the man, he got a job. We don't want him to lose his job. So we're not gonna honor your order of protection. We're gonna let him out on bail. Let him out on bail, woman dies. Because she told you, she knew it. She knew he was coming or she was coming. And and you do not listen. Lots of times we go to the doctor and we're saying to the doctor, yes, this is what is happening in my body. And the doctor, especially a white male doctor, is going to be like, well, no, I think it's blah, blah, blah. Now you got more medicine they want to give you. You got to come back for more. You got more money you got to pay because you got to come back for months. And you knew. And then when you finally leave that doctor and go to somebody else, what happens? What you said to begin with is affirmed.
Yeah.
Right? And so just being women and treated as second class in this world brings trauma with it.
That's
and
true.
Then if we want to add intersectionality, right? And we want to talk about, okay, well, yeah, we can talk about what it means to be women, but let's talk about what it means to be a Black woman in particular. Mm-hmm. And then if we want to talk about the lens of socioeconomic status, let's talk about what it means to be a poor Black woman. That all of this trauma we are bringing into this space. So if the conditioning says that's your enemy, then I have not done the work. And so I'm already feeling some kind of way about myself. And I see you and I think you're my enemy. What else am I going to do with you? And so part of the work has to be for us to say, if we're going to embrace the song from Aretha Franklin, ain't no way that I can be all of who I am if you won't let me, if you won't give me the time and the space to figure it out on my own, because I believe that's another thing that happens to women. We were talking about this with Elle. What if women stop doing?
Oh, we'll fall apart. The world will fall apart. I say it all the time, women, we birth the community, we raise the community. I have this back and forth with my dad. He's a Baptist preacher, and so a missionary.
I know your daddy from the podcast.
Missionary Baptist preacher at that. So when it comes to women's roles in leadership, we do not agree with that.
I know that.
But we have the conversation. He's respectful, I'm respectful, but I told my daddy one time, I said, Daddy, when you growing up, I said, if you needed wisdom, if you needed nurturing, if you needed answers to a question, who did you go to? Did you go to your daddy or did you go to your mama? And the silence is what happened in the room. It's crickets. I said, when it came to the wisdom and the advice and when you're sick and all this other, when it came to you thriving in life, your mother got you through that. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't argue that, sir. And so, we have to stop as a society and within ourselves, devaluing the power of women. That's a tagline for Real Images, celebrating the power of women. And we have to celebrate that power.
And but your dad, again, I've only met him through the podcast, but your dad even admitted, as this, missionary, this Black missionary, Southern country pastor, that most of the people in the church are women. Right?
Well, to a certain degree, but not in leadership. That was never going to be a woman in the pulpit.
Exactly, but the people that you are leading, right? And so when we began to talk about, hold on. Caller, you're live on the air. KBF 88.3 FM. Thanks for calling.
Yes, sir. It's your boy L.
Hey, L.
I gotta say, real talk. I'm stepping in out, and that's the one thing. But I've got to say, as incredible as women are, body fit, it is that union and that synergy. When that male and female energy is combined and in union, that's when you really work with something. I'm done.
Okay.
So when that synergy happens, but when you said that you wanted to take a moment and say, okay, Black women in particular, we have this spirit of competition that will not allow for that kind of synthesis to happen in ways that could move us forward faster, right? I want to say the same thing about Black men. Right? There are so many times when I am in spaces with Black men and we cannot synergize because you don't see me as, you can't. Michelle, have you ever felt like you was too, that people act like you too much? Not that you just all of it, but you're too much for them, okay? Well, what are you too much of? You're too forceful. Go back to the words that you use. You're too assertive.
Yeah.
You're too passionate.
Yeah.
You're too right. You're too hungry. We want you to be this strong Black woman, but only if we can shape what that strong Black woman looks like, and we want it to look like something that we can handle in a way that makes us feel comfortable.
But I just met Elle for 5 minutes before he left. But I love the energy and spirit he has. But what I want to, and Elle can call back if he wants to, because he said he was done and he was done. But what I want to know is, why is the burden of the union and the synergy between the male and female on the backs of the women to try to figure out? I do not hear enough conversations within male spaces that talks about the, bringing in the feminine energy, and the feminine energy is needed for the union to be complete. And I don't hear that in the male spaces. I hear that when women, take a mic, get on a platform and talk and advocate for ourselves. And then I hear, well, don't count out the men. We ain't really, we still out here loving Black men and doing what we can, but at the same time, we got to speak up for ourselves. So why is the burden of the union put on our backs?
Well, I can answer that with, I don't know if Elle's going to answer or not, or whoever else wants to call in.
Call back, Elle.
501-433-0088. Phone lines are open at 501-433-0088. Part of it for me is internalized sexism. And so if you want to let's just talk about Black men, because I have more experience with them. You want to get Black men in the room and start talking about feminine energy? We're going to start talking about punk. We're going to start, we ain't going to have no punks up in here, right? So anything that you bring in that's tied to the feminine now threatens their masculinity. They're not going to let you talk about no feminine energy. They're not going to embrace the fact that they carry feminine energy. They're not going to talk about the fact that you get sensitive just like we do. You are just as emotional as we. You're not going to talk about that because they have been taught and conditioned to believe that the woman is, we don't, that's over there. We strong, we're powerful, we're the ones in charge, we're the ones in control. And it is my role as the man to make sure I'm controlling the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? My mama, I just said this last night. I was at the University of Central Arkansas. I had been asked to showcase some of my art, to have a conversation about religion, and it's a modern critique on Christianity. Right? And so these pieces that I've done call into question what we really are doing with religion, particularly Christianity. And so there's this one piece that I have that has a cross on the person's back, a crucifix, and then the neck is broken. And when they were asking me what did I see, what did I feel as I was creating, I said to them, this burden of carrying this on my back. That I'm supposed to be the Christian, I'm supposed to be the one that forgives all the time, right? Because that's one of the things that they taught us and conditioned us to believe as Black Christians in particular. No matter what they do to you, they can kill you, they can murder you, they can rape you, they can strangle your children, they can do all of this.
Somebody do something and get you 77 times, you forgive them 77 times.
Because God says, I must forgive, right? And so we're carrying this burden on our back. And what we need to do is move in a different direction, but we can't because our neck is broken. Because the home that I grew up in was patriarchal, no doubt about it. My daddy ran the show. But what I learned later was that my mama's spirit said, you might be the head, but I'm the neck. And the head can't turn without the neck, right? So you can be outside looking like you're in control. We'll even tell everybody you're in control. We'll even write it down on a sheet of paper if you want to. But what we know on the inside of this house is that my mama was the one leading and guiding and giving him the opportunity to shine, right? That's what she had to do. Now, we ain't gonna talk about the violence, but that was part of the conversation. And so we have, so we will not allow ourselves, Black men in particular, will not allow for the embracing of that feminine because they want to be the head, not realizing that you need the power of the neck with you in order for all of us to move in the direction that we need to go. And until men, period, but especially Black men, are willing to do that, we still gonna be what we're gonna be.
Yeah.
Caller, you're live on the air, KBF at 8.3. Thanks for calling. What is it?
How are y'all?
Hey.
Good.
Who is this? Hey, lady.
That's great. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want your rights back? The ladies' rights back?
You talking about reproductive rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Who took
Any
them?
kind of right. Keep them legs crossed and them men have to do something.
Wait, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You said if we want our rights back, our ladies' rights back, we need to keep our legs closed so the man will do something?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's interesting.
Is that...
Okay. And he's out, I guess. Okay.
So you ain't got nothing to say about that? Is that the only one that got something to say about that?
No, you ain't the only one that got something to say about that.
First of all, what you mean get our rights back? First, I get so sick of people acting like, we don't have power. Like we've given, they took them from us. No, you playing with them is what you're doing. You keep playing with them, and we keep showing up defiantly, saying to you what you're not going to do is say, because if you think that just because a person has said that there will be no more abortion, that there won't be any abortion, then you're delusional. Like if you think that there won't be women deciding for themselves whether or not they are going to change their bodies in whatever ways, then you're delusional. You have not taken anything from us. We are living into who we have always been as women. We just have to keep fighting you about it. If you would just leave us alone.
And I mean, it's oh my gosh.
They done took out, right? They done took.
And the coin, so to speak, of receiving, buying, or selling our rights all comes to the yoni. Like we gotta close our legs. So
if we close our legs, what the men gonna do? Because they don't want to talk about having sex with men, right? Which is what plenty of them do, because it's in your nature. It's who you are. We're created with this energy. But you don't want to talk about that. So you're saying, okay, for us to have our right, we need to close our legs. Okay, so if women are not having sex, then
well, this opinion and mentality is the exact reason why women should speak up more. It's the exact reason why everyone needs to go and vote, however you vote. I don't care how you vote, but I would rather, but people are going to do what they're going to do. What my problem is when people sit at home and don't vote. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And this is why it's important for you to Google, get on the computer and Google your clerk's office and find out where your voting location is, and get up and vote and just have your voice. Like that caller said what he needed to say, but it's comical. But just know that was his truth, and that is the mentality that's out here. That if you want your rights back, shut up and close your legs. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like,
So it's heterosexist, it's heteronormative, like all of it. But I do want to say that I do care who you vote for, because when we're having this conversation about women's history, one of the things that we do as women is we vote against our best interests. And so for all the women who voted for Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who herself is a mother, who denied expanding care to mothers, women who have given birth, right? She could have extended that care for a year on Medicaid, and she chose not to. And so a lot of times people say, well, because it's a woman, I'm going to align myself because it's a woman. It's the year of the woman. Remember when we first came here, Elle was like, it's the month of the woman.
Yeah.
They're like, so we only get a month, Elle?
Yeah.
He was like, no. And so it's important. So you have this woman that's in office, but just because she is a woman doesn't mean that she's going to give you your rights back. So you have to, because as a matter of fact, she's working to damage our rights, right? To cause problems with them. So I do think that it's important that you do Google, you do your homework,
do your research,
so that you can figure out who it is. And you cannot be this single issue person thinking just because they're a Republican, just because it's a woman, just because they're black, just because they're white. You can't think in those terms. You got to do a deep dive and figure out who is most aligned with you. And there's not going to be any candidate that is 100% aligned
right
with you. You got to know that, but who is most aligned with you? And so another thing that I feel like about this caller that I want to say that we don't talk about enough, especially if we're going to acknowledge that this is Women's History Month, but this is something that we deal with all the time, is this constant suppression of women's sexuality, right? Mm-hmm. And so in order for me to have my rights, I got to close my legs. It's my right to open my legs. It's my right to open as many times as I want to whom. That is my right.
And let me say this for the people who are fired up. I'm not laughing. Just you hear so much. You know what I'm saying? You sometimes you just have to be like, this can't be for real. So I'm not laughing to condescend anybody who's fired up about what that statement was. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Let's get this call. Caller, you're live on the air, KBF at 8.3. Thanks for calling.
Hey, Denise, this Uwe.
Hey, Uwe.
Hey, what it do?
You tell me what it do.
Hey, what you said. I'm about to say it, okay? Hey, with all due respect. Hey, Denise, and I would say hello to your guest also.
Michelle.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Michelle, what it do? Hey, Denise.
Yes, I'm here.
I heard what that caller, he just called in not too long ago. I think he was a white dude.
Okay.
And he said a black woman should keep her legs crossed.
I think he said women, period. I think he said women, period. If ladies, right, he said ladies. So if ladies want their rights back, they need to close their legs and let the man do it.
Look what men doing already.
Okay.
They're not even respecting a woman.
Okay, talk about it.
You hear me? Because that's wrong. Because you know what? The black woman matched up the black man in the days of slavery. You know what? She gave up her leg to save her black man in the days of slavery, okay?
Okay.
And you know what? We still in the days of slavery. It's modern day slavery. But you know what? The black woman's still saving the black man, okay? You know, we got to respect our black woman. Because you know what? And our black women, rather say. Because, you know, you all are to be well respected, because you know what? Without the black woman, what you said, that synergy, you got to have that synergy.
I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. How do more men have these conversations within each other?
Hardly ever.
What could we do to get y'all to have the conversations more often with each other?
I was talking about before, having that synergy. We got to have that synergy energy, you know, to come together as two grown people, and we can solve a lot of things that's going on this earth today, because we're trying to get squashed out as far as black people, because all these foreigners are coming over here, these immigrants coming over here. But you know what? We as black people, black men, black women, we're a very strong nation.
Yeah, I got a lot to say about that, but we run out of time. I sure want to pick up on the immigration piece, but we're going to keep moving. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
It's always good to hear from you.
Okay, thank y'all. I'll be back.
Okay,
all right.
And so, wait a minute. What Miss Lola say when she came in here? Your girl Lola. She said we missed the point about.
She said the point may have been that he said if we want our rights back, it's still problematic though.
But say what she said though. Say what she said. That we need to, that the power in between our legs.
Yeah, and we should close it. And if we close it, we would get our rights back. Because like it's like if we stop giving it up,
our power.
Yeah, if we cut off the coop. I don't know what I can say on the radio. If we cut off the coop, that is what came out of my mouth. That we could, I guess that the men would wise up or wake up.
Well, okay, so then maybe maybe what they're saying, what she's saying, her interpretation is that the less we allow people into this powerful space, which is between our legs, the more power we will keep to wield to do the things that we need to do, like keep our rights.
And I feel like there's a great philosophical option to that statement. I just don't know if that's what I took from that.
Okay, well, okay, but everybody has.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we were talking about art. They told me to share with them what the art was about. Yep. And I said, no. First, I want you to tell me what you see.
Yeah.
Right? It is important for us to give people the opportunity to share what you see, what you feel, and what you think. So that was her take. Like, we need to understand that we do have power between our legs. And I do think that sex has power. I do believe that.
For sure.
Because I was telling somebody the other day, we were talking about going crazy. And I just so happened to be talking to a man. It's like, well, a lot of times when you say that she crazy, it's usually because she's in relationship with somebody that done took her there, right? Yeah. Because the sex, this power, this energy, all of that has something to do with the relationship and the synergy and whether or not we're able to move forward. And sometimes we can't because the synergy that we have horizontally does not translate when we stand up. Right? So sometimes we have to think about that as well. And so I just wanted to bring up the fact that we always want to suppress a woman's sexuality. And I wanted, since we're talking about celebrating and acknowledging this is Women's History Month, you want to talk about issues that are related to women, and you talk about a man and you want it to be synergized between, and I keep saying a man because that's what people are saying, that's what the callers are saying. But I believe in love as being love. So whoever it is that you are synergizing with your sexual play, then we have to be willing to accept the fact that women have every right to express ourselves and our sexuality in the ways that we deem fit for ourselves. Right. And however that looks to us, we have those rights and no one is allowed to take them away from us. Yeah. Caller, you're live on the air, KBF at 8.3. Thanks for calling. Call me back, caller. Call me back. And so I do want to go back to this though, because there's this young man that I'm in a relationship with. His name is Mr. Henderson. We have a conversation all the time talking about if we want to affect change, we have to understand the power of the woman in terms of being the first teacher that a child has. Yes. And so when you ask this question about how do we get men to have more of these conversations, how do we get men to embrace the feminine side of themselves? How do we get men to stop internalizing sexism and manifesting that in all of their spaces, especially in the church? Like, how do we have these conversations? And I want to say, one of the things that he said to me was that talking about old people and their sayings, that there's plenty of times where I've heard now, since he said it, that women love their boys, but they raise their girls. Okay? That women love their boys, but they raise their girls. So there's a dichotomy in the house, a double standard happening in the house as to what we are teaching girls who grow up to be women and what we are teaching boys who grow up to be men. So this idea that if a woman closes her legs and that will somehow fix things, that you can't say that and then tell a man that it's your job to go out here and sow your royal oats. You're supposed to be hitting everything you can about it. You definitely, anytime you get ready, you can have it, right? But if a woman, again, this is a heterosexist framework. If a woman is not how does that work? You see what I'm saying? You can't have it both ways.
I think too, you could say the same about men. Men love their daughters and raise their sons. Okay. And I think that's where that balance that people are talking about, so to speak, come in. There are things that my father, my brothers, my uncles taught me they were part of my raising. You know, they definitely taught me different things than my mother and my aunts and the women. Because, you know, there's always a group of women in the community that raise everybody's kids. You can go in anybody's house and get you a plate. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I grew up. And so there are different things that you glean and get from the males in your community and the women in your community. I think really the summary of everything in the conversation is that we both have to show up to the table
and respect each other.
Yeah.
And receive the whole of who each other.
That's it.
We have to be able to do
Aretha
that.
says, "Stop trying to be somebody you're not, baby."
And we finna head on out with Ain't No Way Again. This time we're gonna be listening to Wendy Martin. Remember we talked about this. We're gonna come in with Aretha. We're gonna go out with another cover. Yes.
Can I say one last thing?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Follow Real Images
Oh,
on
yeah,
social media, Real Images AR. You can learn more about Real Images at realimages.org. And we hope to see you at an event soon.
Let's hope to see you at an event soon. Real Images AR. We're going out with Ain't No Way. Just got a couple of minutes of it with Wendy Moulton. Thank you so much, MB Michelle.
Thank
for
you,
showing up.
Denise.
So glad that you were here. All right, let's take us out. Fantastic. Wonderful show. Wonderful show. That man threw a wrench in y'all.